Hey, GOLDFACTS here. The 1-10x LPVO category has developed quite the reputation of being the feature bait scope of the LPVO world. The compromise, do-it-all option in a category already known for being a compromised do-it-all choice among optics. 1-10x LPVOs compared to the 8x and for sure their 6x brethren are known for poor 1xness, bad reticles, bad reticle scaling, while having a very tight exit pupil at the higher magnification. That's not to say 1-10x LPVOs do not have a niche. While the current 1-10x models tend to fall short for what most people want out of their general purpose LPVO, the 1-10x category has the potential to be an excellent SPR style scope. So, a 5.56 rifle meant for long range. While the 1X is definitely kind of when we compare it to other LPVOs, it still absolutely beats out the low end of, say, a 2.5 to 10X, an MPVO. And the 10X, at least on paper, gives us something comparable to an MPVO high-end. For those that don't remember, don't worry, I barely remember what I had for breakfast. This was basically my conclusion for my Voodoo 1-10X scope review. In fact, the SPR GPR hybrid scope was such a compelling idea that Hop bought one twice. Now hold up, before you go out and buy one of these, Hop also sold his Voodoo 1-10x. Twice. Despite how good it sounds on paper, the Voodoo 1-10x suffers from one big issue. No side focus or parallax adjust. Which means despite how good this thing looks, cheaper MPVOs put up a way better performance despite having way worse glass at like, I don't know, a third of cost. So Delta Stryker finally did what we wanted to do for quite some time now. They put a parallax adjust on their scope without charging $3,500 for it. Okay, so Delta Stryker 1-10x, the review. Well, remember the Voodoo I mentioned like, I don't know, 22 seconds ago?
So, it's a Voodoo. No, really, it's not just kind of like a Voodoo. It's an EOTech Voodoo 1-10x with some slight changes. Exterior-wise, it's a 1-10x. You probably got that already. 34mm tube, 28mm objective, exactly like the Voodoo. The weight is basically identical to the Voodoo with the addition of about 5 ounces, probably due to this spinny boy on the side right here. The reticle is even very similar to the Voodoo with a large super, donut ring of death that does absolutely nothing outside of 5 yards. And with a small inner reticle that zooms in when you go to the 10X, it's basically the same MSRP as a Voodoo. Now this one's a little bit more rare than the Voodoo, so the Voodoo tends to have its MSRP come down, at different retailers. This is sticking pretty close to MSRP, but both come in at $1,800. In fact, if I just flash the images back and forth, you're gonna notice an extreme amount of similarities between these two scopes, with the biggest giveaway being the exterior turret. It's a Voodoo turret almost identically with some slight aesthetic changes. I would not be surprised if this scope is made in the exact same factory as the Voodoo. It even looks the same on the inside in terms of glass clarity.
Alright, you might be thinking, wow, GOLDFACTS hates this thing like he does everything else. No, this scope, like the Voodoo, is a damn good scope from an engineering standpoint. Everything about it is really nice. Even my pet peeve review buzzword, fit and finish, is relevant here. It's a nice scope. The glass, though, is what tells the whole story and the glass puts out. The Voodoo has really amazing glass, but that parallax adjust finally takes it that step to looking almost top tier. But good glass for a 1-10x LPVO doesn't really translate to good glass in practice, compared to other scope with larger objectives and less constrained designs. I shot this side by side with a bunch of Leopolds, and while absolutely I thought this thing could keep up just fine out to about 800 yards, distinctly you can tell there is a little bit loss of clarity, color, and some weird hazing around the sides. While the glass quality is something a lot of people can tolerate, a deal breaker for a lot of people is going to be the exit pupil, like with basically all 1-10x's. Remember, for those that forget, the exit pupil is the left, right, up, down of your eye box, and this scope has a very punishing one. Basically, the eye box of a scope like this is going to be roughly the same size as a human eye pupil in broad daylight. That means if you move at all, you're going to exit the exit pupil. Weird phrase, I know. As you move in and out of it, you're going to find the image gets darker, you're going to lose clarity, you might even exit the visual component of the scope. It's going to look terrible. For most people, I find that a 2.8mm exit pupil on a 10x scope with a 28mm objective is going to be in the realm of manageable, though incredibly annoying and eye-straining over long periods. While something like a 2.4mm exit pupil from 24mm objective LPVOs tend to be hell on earth and well below the threshold for a lot of people. It depends on your eyeball. I was engaging out to 600 yards with this thing in a frolicking field of gray sagebrush with non-painted targets on a wonderful Oregonian overcast day. It kept up just fine, which for the record, the cheaper scopes we brought out that day did struggle a little.
Hey, Chili GOLDFACTS here. It's cold out because I'm waiting for the clouds to go away so I can film this section. If only I could be productive without having to hold this whoopee to keep me warm and dying from hypothermia. Wait, no, I did that. I'm supposed to snap beforehand and then you do the quick, whatever. This video is sponsored by Venture Surplus. And today, specifically, is my mic in the right position? Featured item of the day, the jacket whoopee. It's that whoopee that's now lying on the ground getting all dirty in jacket form. It's an M81 God's plaid and you can just wear it and you can look cool and stylish while staying warm. Venture Surplus, for the 4 of you that don't know yet, so they've sponsored a lot of videos, is a, well, surplus site. You can go over there, get stuff used, new, slightly used, very used, and save an extraordinary amount of money. Venture Surplus is kind of fun in a lot of ways and also obviously sometimes slightly annoying in that it's a rotating cast of whatever they can get their hand on from the US military in surplus form. They sell it to you, but that means the supply is limited. That means the supplies are constantly rotating. So I don't know, set it as a bookmark, go check it out every day. You'd be surprised what you see show up in limited numbers day by day and how much money you can potentially save. Once again, today, the focus is this M81 whoopee jacket thingy, which you can get right now. It's gonna be on sale, and you can also use my discount code. I don't remember the discount code. It's gonna be down in the description. I don't get kickbacks, so use it if you want to. Save some money, or don't. I mean, it is up to you. And go ahead and check it out. Thanks, Venture Surplus, and on with the video.
The reticle at max magnification is actually quite good. The biggest thing I probably have issues with the scope is that the turret designs are non-reset style turrets, so no indication of how many rotations you've done, and you can go past 0, right? You unlock the turrets, it's unlocked, you lock the turret, it's locked. There's no in between. So if you're shooting, say, past 5 mils, half a rotation, you may unconsciously reset the turret back to the wrong way if you're really stupid. In other completely unrelated news, I spent the first 20 rounds of the second day shooting 20 feet high without realizing.
Oh, yeah!
Wrong way. Hit. Yep, there it is.
Let's talk about the 1X. It's good. Better than the Voodoo because of the Parallax setting, which allows us to go to the CQB mode, which flattens out the image a fair bit compared to, say, the Voodoo 1-10x. I would compare it to maybe a slightly worse Trijicon Credo. Reminded me a lot of the VCOG, if I remember right. So it's still not upper tier like, say, a Tango 6 or a Mazeballs tier like something like a second focal plane scope or a PLXC, but it's still really good compared to literally any other 1-10x. The reticle it's doing first focal plane things where it's like almost invisible at the 1X, I guess Bronze Star for effort, but in practice it's about as meh as all the other mediocre 1X designs. Would have figured this out by now. Other manufacturers have already done this part well. Copy their homework, it's clear no one cares about copyright laws anyway.
Fuck, I'm gonna...
Oh fuck, I'm gonna...
It might be locked.
Alright, launch it. Launch it.
I'm not launching it.
Into the dark, do it.
No.
We'll find it, I promise.
So, let's answer that question. Has the Delta Stryker solved the 10x LPVO issue? Sort of. From the perspective of this being the penultimate LPVO that excels in all aspects and you just shove on every single rifle, no. While Parallax Adjust does make things better, general purpose rifles still heavily rely on 1X, and the 1X on this thing, while better than other premium 1-10x scopes, still falls behind even mid-tier LPVOs. The reticle is also just not doing us any favors by being so small on the 1X. That will burn your ass on certain lighting conditions, certain fighting conditions, whatever. You will lose that center aiming point. Okay, so how about as a long-range oriented scope? Nope. I mean, what did we think here, right? It's still an LPVO, and it's still 1-10x LPVO. A lot of our design budget has been gobbled up, and even a very cheap, let's say an Athlon Helios, is going to outperform this thing at 10x while costing $400 instead of $1,800. If you want long-range performance, this ain't it. However, this scope does exist in the realm when we marry these two concepts together. We want long-range performance, and we want good glass quality, or at least acceptable glass quality to back it up. But we're willing to pay both in terms of functionality, right, the quality turrets, design, exit pupil, as well as just image quality, a little bit, to go get a 1X back onto our scope system. Now, this isn't your general purpose LPVO. This isn't your, generic long-range MPVO. It's in a very narrow middle ground for those that find 1x on the mainline centerline of their rifle as non-negotiable, but also want to do long-range dialing things. Put another way, if I knew I was going to engage at range, I would take this scope over my beloved PLX-C. But the reality is, the scenarios where I would use this scope over my PLX-C is very small in nature, and 99% of the times I just prefer that, as that does almost as well as this does at range, while doing the close range stuff infinitely better. This really is at home with that rifle concept I discussed earlier in the video, the one Hop has two of, or my USPR video that I did recently, where we're trying to kind of blend two roles into one with some compromise. Okay, that's really about it. Thanks for watching. Thank you, the viewer. It really means a lot that you guys are willing to support not just a stranger on the internet with comments, but also your hard-earned cash. I hope I deliver on that support week after week. Okay, see ya.
Border between like real world and magic world, and like it's guarded by people.
Hold on, Harry Potter.
No, the border's guarded by like people with machine guns, but like when the winds blow the magic across the border, the machine guns stop working.
What's this 15? It was Garth Nix. But that's the Garth Nix fucking thing.